Hi, this is Graphically Alex coming at you with all things fat related. If that's something that interests you, please subscribe. I'd love to have you. Today we're going to be reacting to this We Need to Talk video from Miss Anna O'Brien, Glitter and Lasers. She awoke me. I don't always talk about Anna, but then she pulls something happens, and I'm like, I have to talk about her now. And I feel like this video is an event that I'm like, I'm going to cover this. I feel like there's going to be a lot of stuff in here. I'm interested. I'm curious. A lot of times Anna she's a little bit boring to me sometimes. Like she has phases where she's interesting and then phases where she's boring. This to me is interesting because I want to see what she's going to say over this length of time. I'm really interested to see how weight is going to be related to this. And so shout out to all of my Anna reaction fans or whatever, people who are a fan of my Anna reactions. So let's go ahead and do this. We're getting into it. She brought me back. You brought me back, Anna. You did. I do like to cover her when I feel like she's done something because I can be pretty neutral with her. Like I don't dislike her and I don't love her. I'm very neutral. So I like reacting to her because I feel like I can just see her very clearly. So let's go ahead and get into this. Let's go.
That was a lot. That was a lot.
Have been waiting an entire year.
It's finally here.
To live. And I've had to live this half life for 12 months. And so now I get to just go be me, but better.
I know that she had a lot of she did a lot of surgeries. I always hear things. I hear the whispers of the wind of Anna. Even if I'm not paying that close attention, I still know things. I don't even really know how I know. I just do. I don't know how that works. For my Astro Girly Pops, I'm blaming that on my Scorpio rising. I feel like there's certain things that I just know or I hear about. It's like my brain, I can pick up on something and I just end up hearing about it or people tell me about it or whatever. And Anna is one of those things. So even when I'm not actively paying attention, I still know. I know about her surgeries. I know about all that stuff. But I'm like, it's not enough for me to say anything. I'm always like, I wait. But she did it. She got me. I'm here.
Did you miss me? Because I'm back. I know that I have a lot to fill you guys in on, and I do really want to explain why I took some time away. But first, I feel like I need to catch you up on everything that's kind of happened since my last video. So right now, I'm actually leaving for my next surgery tomorrow, which is kind of wild to think about. I can't believe it's tomorrow. But I need to pack because I, of course, have not because that's just who I am. So I'm going to let you guys go and I'll see you at the airport.
I was so mad. I went to Austin and she wasn't there. She betrayed me. She left. Oh, hold on. We have an ad. 1 second. I'm so irritated though. I was like, I wanted to see her out in the wild when I was there. I walked the streets. I didn't see her. I did the Anna O'Brien. I did it a lot in her memory, and I knew she wasn't there. Of course, I would go when she wasn't there. Of course, right? But I did that a lot, especially when I had to walk up a hill. I'd be like, and I'd go up the hill. So there was a hill by the hotel that I stayed in, and I did that every time. Couldn't help it. She was on my mind when I was there. Oh my gosh. I went to go see Charlie XCX. That's why I was there. So I went to that show. I was there on Wednesday, I believe.
So obviously I already made a bunch of videos about surgery number 1, which you can watch here. There's a link up. But the whole objective of that surgery was to clear out my pelvic girdle and the outside of my thighs. And the reason they did that in surgery 1 is because it was the worst, the most congested area, and it was the place I was experiencing the most pain. One thing I definitely learned that I didn't anticipate was that it's a lot more emotional of a journey than I thought. I thought I would just bounce back and I would just be my old self right after surgery, but your hormones are like all over the place.
No, surgery is really tough. I've only had a tonsillectomy really as a surgery, but it was rough. I had it when I was like 17. It's easier when you're younger. It was rough at 17. And so I am well aware that surgery is a lot. It's not easy. It's not fun. It's not casual. Like, my mom just had a surgery in December. It was tough. Recovery is tough. So you have to acknowledge that, and you have to, like, I don't know, I guess give yourself space for that, or just realize, like, it's a lot to recover from, typically. But I do think a lot of times on social media, surgery can be glamorized, especially like plastic surgery and stuff, like where it's not a big deal and that kind of thing. But it's like, no, it is. It's a big deal. And anything that's bariatric in nature, it's rough, you know. And I think that especially when it comes to weight-related surgeries, is very much downplayed a lot of the time. To the point where people will say it's the easy way out and all this kind of stuff, which I don't agree with at all. At all. I hate it when people say that because it's not easy at all. I haven't had it. I'm just saying. Surgery in and of itself isn't easy. And I haven't had anything like that. I lost my weight. For those of you guys who don't know, I've lost about 135 pounds since August of 2022 and kept it off sustainably. It was tough. It's tough when you're super morbidly obese to lose. It's always hard no matter what choice you make. And honestly, I do have less judgment. You know, I know a lot of people judge about doing something naturally or not. I don't tend to judge just because I understand that it's life or death. And there's a lot of thought that goes into it. I don't think it's something that's done willy-nilly. So I don't judge people for what they decide to do. I think I just always assert that you can do it naturally. What I don't like is when people try to say that you can't. That's not true. If you want to lose the weight naturally, you can. And I will always assert that. And I've done it. And I did it publicly. So I try to promote that as much as I can just because I want that to be known. That even if you are super morbidly obese, you can lose the weight naturally. So, anyways, let's continue.
And it's tough. And I don't like resting. It's just not something I like to do.
It's boring.
And that was very mentally challenging for me to be in a place where I had to literally lay low. Like I already said, you guys.
I think that Anna would have a really hard time with boredom. I think that boredom is probably a huge trigger for her. B followed by E followed by D, which I have to talk about it. I call it toxic ritualistic behaviors on this channel. I do have a video in the description where I kind of talk about it, but that's more geared towards people who struggle with it. But in general, when I say that, I'm talking about really three things. The three behaviors, they have to do with unrealistic diets, obsessing over how we look, especially in regard to our body mass. I have to be kind of careful. YouTube is really edgy. And the last one is, of course, the one that we all know. binge. So I think for her, boredom is probably one of her biggest triggers, where she's going to do one of those three things, which a lot of people will, like I've seen people talk about, oh, she's gained weight, or she's barely done this, or she's barely done that. I think it'd be very hard for her in a situation where she's recovering from surgery to actually lose weight, because she's going to be so bored, and it's going to be such a trigger, especially for her. I think she gets bored really easily. I'll just put it to you that way. So it's very tough. Very, very tough. I agree that it's hard for her, but again, what I have to talk about too is within the issue, within the toxic ritualistic world, if it gets very severe, you will tend to do things in order to create more triggers so that you can engage with it more, because you want to. I mean, I know that's kind of dark, but it is what it is. You want to do the behaviors. So even if it's subconscious, there can be a desire to create situations, self-sabotage, or, I wonder, honestly, my question to Anna is, are these surgeries a subconscious thing where you are creating incentives for you to engage in the behaviors because you're so bored in the recovery? And I think she does this a lot because she'll do very scarring experiences, like physical challenges and things that are traumatic at times, even for other people to watch. Like I will never forget her moment where she was out on the rocks. She wasn't clothed properly. She could have been like hurting herself. She's on her knees on the rocks and all that stuff. Like, ugh. Like, as somebody who used to be super morbidly obese, like the thought of being on your knees on rocks and stuff is extremely painful. And I think she puts herself through these things to trigger herself. That's how I honestly read the situation. That's what I think she does. And I wonder if she's using these surgeries as a way to do that. So she was able to use that for a whole year. That's my opinion. Obviously I can't say I know for sure, but I know the issue very well, and she's very obviously very severe. I'll just put it to you that way. So I would not be shocked if she is doing that to fuel her behaviors, because that boredom that she's creating through the surgery recovery, it's something that she can play with and use it as a reason or an excuse to continue to, especially binge, but other aspects too.
Guys have a lot more information about surgery
Which
one, because
you can see that she hasn't really lost any weight. Like, there's no progress, and that's what it looks like when somebody has this problem. Like, they're always talking about how they're kind of doing something about it, or they're talking about how nothing can be done, right? It's always like, I guess it would be one or the other, but either way, no matter what, it's not changing. Or if it's changing, they're going up, typically. Or if they go down, then they tend to go back up within a few months, usually within 6 months. That's what I would say. It can go longer, but it's usually, typically, in my opinion, your average person that has these issues that loses weight, they usually will gain it back within 6 months. That's typical.
because I made those videos, and so I don't.
But that's how it looks, is what I'm trying to say. Either way, they're obsessed with it. So they're either talking about, I can't do anything about it, I can't do anything about it, I can't do anything about it, or they'll literally become like a fat activist. That's a great example of being obsessed with it and not changing it, being obsessed with it, not changing. Or they're going to be obsessed with different diets and stuff like that, or different health protocols and things that they're doing, but it doesn't ever actually get anywhere because it's not meant to. Because at the end of the day, whether it's obsessing about how you're being mistreated or as a fat person, or these types of things. You're thinking about different aspects to try to keep yourself in that behavior, to trigger yourself into that behavior, or you're sabotaging your life or doing certain things to trigger the response, because it's an anxiety response. So you're trying to make yourself more anxious so that you can engage in the behavior because it feels comforting. So when people do that, they use all of these different psychological things in mind games, especially with themselves, to keep it going. So like I said, whether it's I'm being so mistreated or I'm doing all these health things and it just doesn't seem like it's working, blah, 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 blah. Anna is a really good example because she does both. She kind of rides that line between the two. And I think she's very severe, I told you. So I'm trying to kind of shed some light on how this looks on the outside. Because a lot of people watch Anna and they're like, what the actual fuck is she doing? Whereas I can watch her and I know exactly what she's doing. She's using these surgeries in two different ways. In one way, she uses it to delay needing to lose weight, even though it doesn't make sense. You can still lose weight in recovery. Obviously, there's bariatric surgery where people lose weight in recovery. It's like, duh. Anna, hello. But in her mind, oh, I can't because I'm recovering. And the other thing is to create the boredom to fuel the behavior. Because if she wasn't as bored, then she wouldn't have as much of a desire to do it. So that's the other way that she uses these surgeries. That's my opinion. So take it for what it is.
I don't really have much more to add than what I've already put out there. I do need to kind of update you guys on surgeries 2 and 3, but I also need to catch this flight. So I'm gonna go, and when we get to Utah, I'll fill you guys in about those surgeries. Next stop, Utah.
Of course she went when I went. Sorry, I'm still mad about that. I'm mad. I saw her on Instagram. I'm like, she's in Utah. It made me so mad. I was so mad. Sorry. I'm not over it, as you can tell. You know what, Anna? That's why. That's why I'm here. Because you left when I got there. No, I'm just kidding. That's probably part of what awoke me from this. Is my trip there.
We got to our hotel, and as you can tell, it is almost nighttime. Surgery 2 was an interesting one. It was to take care of my inner thigh, and I decided, and in hindsight, feel stupidly decided to go alone. I'm just waiting and shuffling around the room. Whoa. It's weird to not have someone to talk to. Last times I did this, I had someone with me, so I had someone to talk to. I think that's, so far, the only thing that bothers me is that there's just no one to talk to while you wait. There's no one to talk to, except you, internet. And that's why there really wasn't a ton of content around it, because I was on my own and I was very overwhelmed and it was not fun. And if there's one thing I learned from surgery number 2, don't go it alone. You don't need to be strong. You don't need to be superhero. You are there to heal. And I have a little bit of a superwoman complex. I can admit that. I want to feel like I can do anything, and this I could not do alone. Okay. Straight up.
The way she's talking about it, I feel like she had a really bad episode, probably, during that whole thing. That's what that's giving to me. It's giving I ate a lot because of that. That's what that sounds like to me. Which, again, I don't think I could ever, truly, I'll just put it to you this way. I can never truly judge somebody who's in it because I was in it so deep. So I understand it, and there's always going to be a part of me that feels for a person that's in it, even if they're not the best person or the most likable. There's a lot of people I personally don't like that have those problems. I'm always gonna still have a little bit of a soft spot in my heart for somebody suffering through it because I know what it's like. But it's also not fixed by being gushy, you know? And I think that's why it's tough, because you have to like fight it. So it's tough. It's a very tough thing, because I've honestly, like, when she was in the room and all that, it's like I feel bad for her. It makes me feel bad. Where I'm like, oh my gosh, you know? Like, because I know that this issue, it affects our relationships with people too, because you're not well. You're not physically well, and it affects you emotionally, mentally. Also, being so straight up delusional about something as foundational as what you're eating, it doesn't set you up psychologically for success with other people, romantically, relationship wise, friendship wise. Like, it's very easy to lie to yourself about other things because it's such a basic thing that you're lying to yourself about. So it's like I see that she's alone and I'm like, I wonder why, you know? And I just think about these types of things. And then she's also had so many issues with social media, for example. I've witnessed that a lot, where she has a lot of scrutiny, and I get why. I do. Like I said, I see the same person you guys are seeing. I do. You know, I can't defend her. I never really have defended her, ever, because I can't. But to me, it's like, I think she does a lot of stuff where she tries to use her issue to escape. She's like an escapist person. So I think she uses it to live in a fantasy. She uses it to escape where she is. Whereas for me, I used it to control my emotions. Ugh, which is like horrifying just to even say that out loud. Ugh. But that's how I used it. I used it in a way where it's like, if I wanted to feel something, I would eat something, or I would do this or do that. You know what I mean? I'd get into the other aspects of it. I get on a diet, or I get on this, I get on that, right? It's like, if I wanted to feel horrible, I could just look in the mirror. And people would be like, why would you want to feel horrible? That's so weird. Like, you're weird. But I told you, I'm Scorpio rising, you know? I like emotional experience. I like that kind of stimulation, which, you know, life is boring now without it. And I'm just kidding. That's terrible to say, but no, it can be boring sometimes. And because I was so used to that emotional stimulation from it, that not having it anymore, it's tough, because it's like, oh gosh, like, you have to actually go out and live your life, or you have to actually like put in effort, or you have to actually, I don't know, you have to actually do things, you know, to feel something. And so obviously that's a healthier way, and duh, and I would never like go back or whatever. Which I know that pisses people off when I say that, because they're like, it's something you're always going to have. But I don't believe that when it comes to these issues. I see it much more as, it's like a toxic belief system, or it's like believing in, like, I don't want to say it just in case anybody has kids, but you know what I'm saying. It's like believing in something and then finding out the truth, and then, you know, it's not a thing. You can't really go back. It's very similar. But people will go to great lengths to defend that belief system. And for someone like Anna, she's in it so deep. You know, the stuff that she said, like, on her podcast, I can't even remember what she said, but like, she's trying to say she had these different types of fat cells and different this and that, and it was just her whole body is scar tissue. I mean, all this stuff. It's too much of a reach. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's wild. It's like, she's very, very bad. You can tell. I hope I'm kind of bringing some clarity to it. I know it's hard because YouTube does not let us talk about it very clearly, but I'm trying here. I'm hoping you guys are catching what I'm saying, at least a little bit.
About a couple hours post-surgery now, and I hurt. So I have a feeling that this recovery period is actually not going to go as smooth as the previous one. I don't think it's going to be unbearable. I don't think it's going to be something I can't deal with, but I'm already realizing that like every surgery is going to be different in terms of pain. And every surgery is going to be different in terms of who you are. So for me, I just happen to have a lot of fibrosis on the back of my legs. And we knew that from when we did parts of my knee on the outer side. But I was not prepared for how I feel right now because I had such a great first experience that I thought it was like, I'm just going to be fine. I honestly think I will feel better standing and walking than I do laying because laying forces me to put pressure on the places where the fibrosis was removed. I feel like
Sorry that I'm stopping it so much, but I really want to like dissect everything. I'm going to keep saying it. I'm Scorpio rising. I'm Scorpio-ish. You know, I go deep. Okay, I got it in me. I got the Scorp in me. I take it deep. I can almost feel her anxiety as she's talking. I can feel that type of anxiety where it's like, oh my gosh, da, 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 da. Like, I hope what I'm saying is like, I don't even know. It's like you can kind of tell she doesn't even know if what she's saying is real, or, you know, she's like thinking about what are these people going to think about what I'm saying? What is this person going to say? You know, it's like, I can just see that. And a lot of people that are not in this issue, they don't understand why people care so much about what other people think. But it's because it's not rooted in reality. So it's like the only way that you can make it real is depending on the reaction of other people, essentially. Which that probably is going to play into the rest of the video. I know that she goes on about how she's so mistreated and because people don't back up what she's saying. So I'm sure we'll get to that. I might have to do multiple parts of this because I'm going to take it deep. But anyways.
I need to talk about this in every video, but you will fart and burp a lot. Like a lot. And you will feel gross. It is normal. And I think there's a certain like acceptance that happens after like the third day of all out farting for your life, where you're just like, this is me now, I'm a fart factory, and then it'll stop. So I am today a fart factory. I'm owning that truth. One of the things that was really hard post the second surgery as well is that I was not fully recovered from my first surgery. It was 2 surgeries really back to back, coming out of recovery and then going immediately into another surgery. And when I say recovery, I mean like the very initial stages of recovery. And this is something that I realize people do not understand. They expect like the results to be immediate. And I think that's because people are very familiar with like weight loss surgery, where you do see results very quickly. Like people begin to lose weight and they're like, oh, her body's changed. That is not how these surgeries work. The recovery period for these is up to like 18 months to 2 years. So that's all I really have to say about that.
I know, but there's still more traditional methods of weight loss where you could make significant progress in 18 months to 2 years. Absolutely. And I'm a living testament to that. Not every cell of fat in your body has to be taken out with surgery. That's not true. You have plenty of weight to lose. You could make significant progress in especially 2 years. If you are very big and you're on a weight loss journey and you have not made significant progress in 2 years, you are not doing anything. I'm sorry. You're not. That's way too long. I do talk about on this channel that a lot of people's expectations are too high I think there are a lot of people who are like, I lose 200 pounds in a year. I lost 200 pounds in a year, blah, blah, blah. And it kind of gets that social media headline. But in reality, I think it's, for a lot of people, it's more likely to be like 30 to 50 pounds in a year. You have to kind of think about how fast you gained it. And I think most people can do at least 30 pounds in a year and keep it off, which is what's important. It's keeping it off. And I understand that people have this expectation or this desire. I want it to be gone. I can't stand it. I understand all that, but is it going to be 3 years or is it going to be 15? Insert the Gen Z TikTok shotgun noise, you know? I always think about that shotgun noise all the time now. But anyways, I'm just saying, is it going to be 3 or 15? Because when you play these games, which is also part of that toxic ritualistic, I want it now. I want it in this moment. I want it like this. Oh, you know, that feeling, you end up delaying it and it actually takes drastically longer. So I'm here living in reality now. Hello. Graphically Alex speaking from reality. Do you hear me? 3 years isn't that long compared to 15. And if you keep trying to do it that way, you might be doing these overly harsh things. Then you go back to the binge. You cycle through. It does do damage to your metabolism each time. It's not good for you. It's horrible, etc. You know, when I first started my prothyroid protocol that I've been doing, because I was extremely hypothyroid when I was recovering from that in 2021, I couldn't lose weight. I couldn't lose weight. I started my recovery in March of 2021, and I couldn't lose weight until August of 2022. I was just too damn hungry. I was too unwell, and I couldn't focus on it. But I still made progress, and especially within that 2 years, babe. That's still 2 years. I had lost 30 pounds. I lost 30 pounds in 2022 and kept it off. I'm just saying, and that's a very extreme circumstance. Most people would not have to wait that long. Most people are not going to be that bad. And again, when people talk about my metabolism is shot, oh my gosh, it has to do with nutrient deficiencies. It's not like this supernatural thing that you can never lose weight. It's like, no, you have nutrient deficiencies because you have this issue that I cannot talk about, the issue we must not speak of on YouTube. And so you're creating these deficiencies through the binge and through the unrealistic diets and all this stuff. And you cycle through it. And some people, they do both. Like we see a lot of fat acceptance activists that are vegan. They're not being a super nutrient dense vegan, are they? Typically no. So they have deficiencies, and that does shoot your metabolism. It does. And it can take a long time to build that up. It's not that different. It is, there are differences from the other end of E followed by the letter D, but there's a lot of similarities too in recovery. I actually had a comment on one of my recent videos where she came from the other side, and she also had a mid-size phase, and her comment spoke to me so deeply that I was almost brought to tears reading it. And it helped, and it resonated so deeply. There's a lot of similarities. So people do need to understand that. Yes, there are differences. Yes, there are certain things where they come across a little differently in certain aspects where recovery is different. But there's a lot in common too. There's a lot.
I am tired. I'm also hungry. So we're going to go get some dinner. And the next time I will see you guys will actually be tomorrow morning when we are taking pre-op photos. Because it's 9:30, which means I gotta get up at a terrible hour. Pray for me. I am so tired. Good morning, Internet. I am here at the Roxbury Institute now. We're gonna do my pre-op photos, get ready for surgery tomorrow, and I'm gonna tell you guys all about surgery number 3. With that, let's get going, because I'm actually late.
I told you we would liven it up shortly.
Yeah.
He was like, it's quiet around here.
Hello.
He was like, it's quiet in here.
Not for long, buddy. I got a big mouth and a big heart. I literally don't know what the hell I was thinking changing up the location of my final surgery. LA is at this point very familiar to me. I know how everything works. I know the whole staff. I know the procedures. Even though technically those things are the same in a different location, it still feels completely brand new. So I had a weird amount of anxiety going into this surgery because it just wasn't familiar. So every time before we actually have surgery, we take what's called pre-op photos, and this allows us to compare pre and post surgery. And it's highly controlled, so like your body's in the same positioning. I wear the same exact underwear set every single time, and it just allows you to have a really fair comparison. We talk a lot about online about how comparisons aren't always genuine. People are standing in different ways, wearing different clothing, things are pulled up higher or lower. This allows a real, true, honest comparison before and after. And so I have really focused on making sure I always have the same underwear set. I always have the same poses. I'm always smiling in my photos. I don't want you to think that I'm like sad at the beginning and happy at the end, because that's bullshit too. So I like that I have this to be able to show like the results in our.
That was really corny, Anna. Oh, Anna, it just doesn't land because it's very obvious to most people that you do pretend to be happy quite often. So just even the fact that you had to say that, it's like, oof. It like, I wasn't really even thinking about that. And then you said that, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Well, you pretend all the time, though. Shotgun noise. No, I'm just kidding.
A real, like, almost scientific way. This is
One of these days I'll learn how to edit. One of these days I'll have a Gen Z teach me how to edit, and I will actually put that noise in there. So, but not today. Not today.
Time I will take these photos before surgery, though I probably will come back to probably LA to take a final round of photos in about a year. We're doing a second round of photos like this just because I am having torso surgery and we want to be able to specifically see the torso, and the underrib does kind of hide that, so we'll have different photos for just this surgery. That's it for the pre-op for this last surgery. Just so excited to be done. Like, I have no regrets about doing it, but I am ready. I'm ready to close this chapter and get to live. Right across from the surgical center.
I'm really wondering what she's going to do after this surgery arc, because there's always going to be, especially with her, and people who make social media like around this, which ends up being around the toxic ritualistic, is what it tends to be. Which there are different creators that are like this. Like I will name a name. Amberlynn Reed is a perfect example. She's also very severe, extremely severe. But her whole channel is around it. That's kind of how Anna is too. And what will be interesting for me to see is what creative way she's going to come up with for why she can't lose the weight next. What's going to be the next one? You know? We know that that's kind of like toxic and kind of dark, I guess, to bring up. But it's like, you know, I do have a certain level of cynicism as well. I'm not like, I would love it if Anna just got out and she totally fixed it and whatever, but I just don't see it happening. I just don't. And it's tragic, but it's also like I said, there's that part of me that has that curiosity of like, what is she going to come up with next, of why it's not happening, why another 2 years go by and nothing changed.
This like farm. I don't know what this is, but there's cows and there's sheep. There's a lot of people, and I figured we'll just find a place here because it's so pretty to sit down and chat, and I can, finish updating you on all the things that I need to update you on. But man, points for having surgery in Utah is this. So in my third surgery, I had my calves and my arms done, which included a brachioplasty. And what this meant is simultaneously my legs and my arms were at a very incapacitated state, especially my arms. I can actually move my arms a lot more than I thought I would be able to. I can go up to 90 degrees, and honestly, it's less painful than it was before surgery, so I love it. Also feels real weird. You're worried about lifting or doing anything, so you really just can't do much with your arm.
I think I read a comment or something where someone was like, of course she's going to say that because she was on all those drugs. And I'm like, that is what that looked like. That was weird.
And then your legs are kind of messed up. So for example, getting up, when your legs are weak, you use your arms, right? But I couldn't do that. So there are times where I literally had to physically be helped getting in and out of bed, which I did not love because, again, if you haven't catch the theme of the video, I'm not good at taking help from other people. And I think physically that's why it was so challenging for me, is I did have to really step back in surgery 3. And
always remember that these issues always, for the most part, I don't know, I would be shocked to see a person where it didn't revolve around control. So why does Anna not want to be helped? Because she's not in control if she's being helped, which again is a huge trigger. So I feel like there was probably some, some stuff going on throughout this recovery as well, because that's a trigger too. And she, like I said, she does these things to herself, I think, in part to create the trigger. As far as the surgeries themselves, I'm not against it, but I just, like I said, I worry that it's only being used as a part of the greater issue here, which it can happen with any of the surgeries. Especially when massive regain comes back in and stuff, it means that it was just used as a part of that, the toxic ritualistic world.
Other people. I'm a little woozy, so we in a wheelchair.
But there are people who are like, I'm ready to get out, I'm done, it's over. And they use surgery, like bariatric surgery, for example, they're cut off from the behavior, so they figure out how to live without it. And that can happen too, and they don't gain it all back. You know what I'm saying? So it depends on the person. You cannot base it on, you can't say that everybody does that, but you can always tell, because did they lose the weight and is it staying off? It shows. It's very visual, especially on this side of the issues, the one where you're eating too much. It's very obvious because you can see visually on somebody. You can see the recovery or lack thereof. You can see the relapse or lack thereof. It's very obvious.
Wee! Do you know what I'm talking about? It's like a real... Okay. So now I'm gonna wait for her to get the car in this wheelchair. So we're back to rolling bandages. We've been kind of intermittently filming this trip, mostly because it's hard. My hands are tired and I'm actually feeling really good.
I just have to say too, I believe Glitter and Lasers, she had this huge moment like in 2020 where she was like, I need to work on my health. I think it was 2020. The reason for my skepticism So if I were to compare my journey to hers, I started recovery. I had my last episode with BINGE in October of 2020. I started my hypothyroid recovery in March of 2021, which is documented on my channel. Like, I have a playlist where it shows the whole thing. And the same amount of years has gone by. And I've sustainably lost 135 pounds. And that's like very conservative estimate, like a conservative number. I did it slowly over a long period of time. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was not like I rushed to lose 200 in a year. I didn't do that. So it's something that was done. There were triggers I faced. There were all these different aspects that I've done. And I even started to do it activistically in 2022. I decided to do that. And especially 2023, I went hard with it. And it's now been 2 years. And there's a lot of progress. So it's like I'm seeing, you know, and I do see other people that have lost in that time span too. And Anna hasn't. So I'm like, I'm very skeptical that she will ever do it. So that's a long time. That's a long time.
Today. So I haven't been able to self-film, which is what I usually do. I actually am kind of proud that I can wrap the bandages today because...
Hey everyone, big heads up, Paleo Valley's running a sale on...
1 second.
Before today, so progress. I wasn't in pain, and that was like the hardest part about it, is like every day I knew I couldn't do these things, but I wasn't getting signals from my body that I was in pain and needed to stop doing them. I just knew to follow my protocols. I couldn't do them. So like, you can't raise your arm above 90 degrees. You can't lift more than would be a gallon of water. So like things like putting on your compression, where you use a lot of force to pull them on, is hard. So I had to stand there while somebody else pulled my pants up. And that is, you know, it's a way of being humbled that I never knew I would experience. I did actually have some additional complications, which then extended those physical limits from the usual 4 weeks to like almost 8 weeks. So double the time that most people experience. But you know what? We're going to talk about that more, because I think at this point it kind of crosses over to how it affected me emotionally. And I think that's a whole other topic that I want to address somewhere a little less public. So we're just about to go to the operating room and start the procedure. I had all these things planned. I was going to film for TikTok and YouTube and Instagram. And you know what? I'm not doing them because I'm nervous and I just want to have the surgery. I just want to have the surgery and I want it to be successful. And that is where I want to put my energy right now. So yeah, I kind of threw all of my plans out the wall, which is very unlike me, but you know what? It feels good to just put my needs first and focus on, you know, this whole long process. It's going to be about 6 hours of surgery. So this is not a short, simple thing. It is going to be intense, but they're hoping that I will have pain reduction immediately. As you could see when they were doing the markings on my arms and stuff, I am having a lot of shoulder and elbow pain, and just holding my arms up is quite difficult for me right now. So these things will allow me to do things that I used to love a lot that now are kind of hard, like my makeup and my hair. Those are sometimes challenging things for me right now. So I think it's going to open up a world of possibility of what I feel comfortable doing. This is probably the hardest part of the surgical process to talk about, because it's like physical pain is easy to explain and easy for people to understand, but emotional pain is really challenging to describe. And it's all relative, right? Everybody feels things differently. And I guess that's true for physical pain too, but I think people comprehend it better. My third surgery was really hard because I had a complication. I had what's called spitting stitches. Now, it is normal to have a couple of those, but I ended up spitting every single stitch of a certain type, which ended up creating about 35 different wounds on my arms, which required me to do a lot of wound care and to stop a lot of my activity to like the bare minimum, keeping my arms elevated and literally just not moving them to try to let those wounds heal. It's also why I started hyperbaric therapy, and it was rough, and I took that on myself. I thought it was my fault. I thought I was a bad patient. I thought I was a failure. My doctor always said to me,
See, when I hear this, I hear it was massively triggering. That's what I hear, which I could understand. It's a feeling of being totally out of control. She's so out of control in that situation. And she's bored out of her mind. So that can be kind of depressing. And I don't believe that she has many coping mechanisms for that type of thing. I just don't. So I'm wondering, did she engage in the behaviors? Which I would say probably.
Me through the surgical process, like, you can't win surgery. And even though he said that every single time we talked, I couldn't believe it in that instant.
Even if she didn't engage in it in the moment, if she couldn't, she probably did after. That's my opinion.
It's been really hard.
And she probably used the memories of it as motivation to do the stuff.
I'm not going to sit here and cry because I feel like emotionally I've moved past that. But there was about 2 months where I was probably the most depressed I've ever been because I couldn't do anything that I normally did. Like, I couldn't even like get a plate from a counter, right? And my physicality was so limited, and now it was limited for an even longer time than I had mentally prepared myself for. On top of that, just like I talked about my previous surgeries, there were a lot of hormonal changes, and it just compounded to a place that I wasn't in a great space. A lot of people have been asking me, like, why are you not on YouTube? Like, why did you take a break? Why are you taking so long to come back? Are you coming back? When are we going to see you again? And I made the decision after that second surgery, when I kind of had that emotional moment, to pull back because I needed to just make sure that I could take care of myself. I love making content. I love sharing my story. I love connecting with you all. And I love, educating on lipedema. But my first priority was my health. And my health was just not at a place that I could do that. Mentally, I was not in the right headspace. And I was incredibly grateful that when I went through this huge, massive emotional struggle around surgery 3, that I didn't have that extra burden. I have not logged in or looked at YouTube in probably 5 months, and I probably won't look at YouTube, mostly because I don't think it's a really great place for me. I think the hardest thing about being such a public figure, going through something as challenging as this in like a bigger body, is that people have a lot of opinions about it, and they honestly research your life in a way that I just never anticipated.
Okay, honestly though, you make your channel about it. So in your case, it's totally warranted. Sorry. That's BS. If it's just like, if you were doing slime ASMR videos and you happened to be in the shot, but it was totally irrelevant, people would not be picking it apart the way that people are. Your whole channel is about it. So stop. That is just... It's not going to work on me, Anna. I do YouTube too. I get it. I'm not, a huge YouTube content creator, etc. But I have done it publicly. I have lost weight publicly. I know what that's like. I've been in a bigger body on YouTube. I know what you're talking about. Yes, I've had certain things happen too, where I've been picked apart in certain ways, but it's what my channel is about. Sometimes I'm frustrated because sometimes it does get off topic, but it's just annoying, It's just annoying to me. if it's about like, oh, I personally hate Alex or something like that, it's like, ugh, it's annoying. But it's just more of like a distraction from the actual purpose of the channel, which irritates me. Or when people try to bring in other topics or try to do stuff, I've had that type of stuff go on. But I keep it on topic, and it's like, honey, if people want to ask about things, or if they're talking about weight or whatever, that's what the channel is about. It makes sense here. That's what's relevant. You know? Duh. And so if you're doing your health journey and stuff, that's what your whole channel is about. Go ahead and start your slime squishy ASMR channel, and it probably won't happen. But if you're doing content and you're making it about that, then people are going to have something to say. And there are going to be expectations for progress within a health channel. And if there isn't progression, it needs to be explained. I've been very clear on my channel. I have not had an issue. I've been honest about when I've eaten more. I can break it down for y'all. You know, I just ate more in March. I did. I ate a lot in March. When I visited a friend in LA. I ate a lot. I was very honest about that. I ate a lot when I was there. I was really hungry. I wanted to eat. And I was very hungry at the time, as I had been doing a deficit since January. And I was hungry. So I ate. And then I stopped, you know? So it's like, but I told you guys about it. I said it. When I went to Austin, I wanted to do a deficit, but it wasn't feasible. I think with that one, it was too difficult because in reality, the trip was kind of too intensive. Like it was a lot of walking, a lot of activities, a lot of extroversion, which I'm not extroverted. It was tough for me. And we didn't get a lot of sleep and stuff on that trip. So there was just no way that I could do it in a deficit, period. But I didn't really overeat or whatever on that trip. I think it was mostly maintenance, especially considering how active we were on that trip. So that was a different situation than in March, where I wasn't active and I ate a ton. And I did gain weight. You know, I probably gained like 3 pounds in that week. So it's like, you know, when you say that kind of stuff, people understand. I've also told you guys recently, as a mid-sized person, I just laugh because I want to say a mid-sized queen, but I'm a mid-sized princess, actually. If you guys that are on my channel, you know what I mean. I don't focus as much on the scale, so I'm not concerned about weight loss. I'm concerned about body composition change. I've been trying to build muscle in a deficit, and I've been doing it, which is difficult, but I've been doing it because I think it's more important to do body comp at this phase. So I tell you guys, I'm not as focused on the scale. I'm focused on building muscle, which means I'm going to lose slower. So it's explained. That helps. And it makes sense. If you are honest with people, you have much less of a problem. And that's typically why people have a problem with you, Anna.
I don't honestly think I'm that important or that interesting to have merited the content that came out of this journey from other people. It was something I did not emotionally or mentally plan for in any way, because I just didn't think I was that important. I know who I am, I know what I stand for, and if people want to question that or recast that narrative, that doesn't change who I am. I'm here for the people that need to learn about these surgeries, that need to be educated about these illnesses, who also need help, who don't know where to go, don't know where to start, don't know what it looks like. That's what I'm here for.
Okay, well then you're going to have a lot of scrutiny. You're going to have a lot of people asking questions. You're going to have a lot of that stuff, Anna. It's kind of how it works. Okay. 1 second, I'm going to be right back. Okay, let's Let's continue.
As an
Oops,
issue.
I forgot my headphones. Sorry. Okay.
With that, then that's them. I think what I hate most about this whole situation is not so much that people have said stuff about me, because I think that just happens being a creator, but I think it's been seeing my fans get so angry for me. I just want you guys to know that I'm okay, and I appreciate you, and I am so grateful for all you've done to like stand up for me, to show your support for me, to check in with me. Like, I know I'm not the best at sometimes talking about that, because sometimes I feel weird. It's weird. I didn't expect to be here in this position, and sometimes I'm still figuring out how to communicate that in a way that feels authentic and like real. But I do not think I would have been able to get to the place I am right now in kind of looking at all of this without realizing just how many people out there have my back, but also how many people out there that I've actually like been able to help by finding diagnoses or just finding strength that maybe they'll get their answer to their, you know, medical issues. And so I think,
Yeah, see, I don't even think she's believing what she's saying here. I'm not believing this, Anna. It's just, like I said, and I could just be judging her based on the emotional pitch, but the emotional pitch is like, oh, like, I don't really know what I'm saying here. Like, you know, it's that kind of vibe, which, I mean, you could have just thought about it, Anna. You had plenty of time to think. You think, you strategize, you think about it. Okay, I want to do this. This is where I get mad. Because I do this. This is where I get kind of irritated. Just because it's just such a flop. It's such a fail as a YouTuber, you know, or she's trying to bring awareness or something like that. It's like, you can think about it. You can ask people for help. And you can try to be like, how do I make this clear? And you can take feedback, you know? You try to balance it all. Like, I don't know. I'm just not... I don't even know what she's trying to accomplish here. Because that's also what I'm questioning. This is me as a YouTuber or as an activist. I'm wondering, what is she trying to do with this? What is the point? Which maybe somebody else could point that out. Like, is this an attempt at PR? Because if it is, it's terrible. It's not working. This isn't working. Because your audience is going to be like... Because they don't, like... People that don't have a YouTube channel don't understand. So there's no point in talking about it in this way. The only time you talk about things as a YouTuber with this type of stuff is if you're asking your audience to do a call for action or something, which you're not. Doesn't seem like it. And so I think it's just like a personal diary moment, which it's not really needed. I think a lot of people don't understand the difference between a personal channel and like an educational or activistic or these types of things channel. Or if something's just for entertainment or if it's for something more, that's fine if it's for something more, but you do have to handle it differently. What is the point of this? That's just a content creator critique. I'm like, what is the point of this? What is she saying? What is the goal? Where is she leading us to as a creator? It's going nowhere.
I just feel like if I don't acknowledge you in this, I'm that would be the failure of this video, is to spend all this time talking about the frustrations of this process without acknowledging that, like, I'm only here in this point having this conversation with this camera because so many of you have been there for me. And that's
just weird. It's a weird thing to say.
Really, really the only reason that I'm back is because of y'all. Okay, well, I need to go get something to eat and get ready for surgery because That's happening tomorrow.
Okay.
Again. For the last time. For a
That
while.
was rough. I'm going to go back to the other form of me, not the YouTuber version. I'm going to go back to, activistic version now. But that was weird to hear as a creator. That was very weird. It's a flop. I know you guys love it when I throw shots, so I'm going to. That was really bad. So I'm not surprised people are not taking it well. People are like, what the hell? Wasn't well stated.
To have other surgeries in the future. I realize that, so I don't want to say forever, but at least for a long time. For a long time. And that's something to be really excited about. Good morning. I'm very tired. It is 6 a.m. I've been up pretty much all night. I foolishly thought this is going to be the surgery I sleep through the night. It was not. I was up all night, and I guess that's just consistent with every other surgery I've had. So I'm exhausted, but that's fine because I'm gonna be have a sleep for the rest of the day, so I can rest in surgery. I'm all surgery prepped, and they're kind of just getting everything ready. The anesthesiologist will be here soon. So now that markings are done, everything's done, it is time for surgery. So they are gonna go Hebe cleanse my body and get this rolling. I don't know if we'll have shots from this. This is a little bit more difficult to film while also keeping it appropriate for the internet. So you might just see me on the other side. I guess you'll know in a little bit if we were able to film or not. So I'll see you guys later. So I just had my first MLD post-surgery. It's kind of weird because of all the surgeries I've had, I feel like the most normal, the most me, the most comfortable after this surgery. I don't know if it's because it was the last one or if just some magic is in the air in Utah, but honestly, I feel great. And if anything, I'm having to temper down what I want to do because honestly, I feel really good. After this, I still have 2 weeks or so of recovery left, but really this is the end of my surgery journey as far as I know. And now I get to just live. So yeah, literally no regrets. More strong than I've ever said it in my life. No regrets on this decision. I feel like how I feel right now is weirdly amazing. And I didn't anticipate to feel this good. I didn't. Okay, so we're back from Utah. I am 2 weeks post-op right now, so honestly, I'm starting the journey towards just getting to be Anna without surgery looming over her head anymore. It's hard to explain that each surgery changes you a little bit more. It's not like you get out of surgery one and everything's magically fixed. You have to go through all of them. So you're kind of having to play this faith card of so much surgery before you get to see the big results. And so, that was a crushing anxiety on me. I don't know what I would have done. I would have blamed myself. Fortunately, I did start to see the big changes really right after this surgery. By the time I left, Salt Lake, the day before I left, I was doing, over a mile walk at the little farm that's across from the center there, where the cows and all the cute little animals are. And honestly, it was a great distraction, so I wasn't really thinking about how much I was walking. But to be walking that much and feeling still really fine after it was unusual. And then the Salt Lake airport is notoriously very long if you're not flying Delta. I was not flying Delta. And I walked the whole thing. I didn't get a wheelchair. I didn't get help. I did it by myself. And I felt totally capable and okay doing that. There have been times where I have flown home alone, especially surgery number 2, where I did not feel safe or good or that I was okay and was kind of terrified the whole time flying home. When I think about what I learned through this process, I learned a lot about myself personally, but then I also learned a lot about myself as a creator, which is a weird thing to have to also learn, but I did. Personally, I learned that good things take time, that sometimes the only way through is through, and that
it may not make sense the whole way through, but you just have to like trust the process. And there was a lot of trust in this journey and a lot of like moments where maybe I didn't share those moments as much, but you know, you wonder in the end, will this work for me? And I mean, honestly, I still don't know. So I still have a little bit of that like heaviness, but I'm
I know, but I think it would have been better for you to actually share that stuff. But I think that Anna doesn't, she does a lot of fake vulnerability. And I don't respect it as a creator. I'm sorry. I don't. Because to me, I'm like, if you're going to do this, then you need to do it. Otherwise, I'm like, what are you doing? She should have done a vlog or something and said that. Yes, she would have gotten hate or whatever, but it's like, that's the real information of her, at least of her experience. This isn't giving anything. This is like a wannabe PR propaganda piece. I mean, this is just not working. It's like you should have been talking about, oh my gosh, I can't use my arms and stuff as it was happening. It's just not as believable, and you already have an issue with things being believable. Because I'm like, I don't know. Huh?
trusting that process. I'm doing the things my doctors want me to do, and it's gotten me to the place I'm at right now, which is significantly better than when I started. It's helping me realize that some of the bigger goals and the bigger things I want to do with my life, which may or may not have anything to do with the internet, are going to take time, and it's going to be
that was
frustrating.
horrible. That scarred so many people. With that whole video, it was so. Oof.
The time it takes, but if you can stick with it, you know, you will get there in the end, right? I believe I will get there in the end, and I think this journey has taught me that. Publicly, I think what I learned is that I don't owe anybody an explanation or a justification.
Okay, then stop trying to act like you're trying to educate people. Stop trying to act like you're doing any information. Stop trying to act like any of that stuff. That is so stupid. Oh my gosh. Ooh. Holy fat activism. I'm getting Fab Fatty's trauma. They were trying to say the same thing. And it's like, you're making the channel. Like, if I'm on my channel and I were to gain 30 pounds, I absolutely would owe an explanation. And there have been times where I have gained weight and I have explained it. And then it comes off fast because I explained why. You know what I'm saying? I've explained things pretty well as things have happened. I remember the first time I had regain, it was in autumn of 2023, and I was nervous. I was nervous about how my audience would take it, but it was obvious and I had to talk about it. And so I did. And I explained why, but guess what I did, Anna? I said, I'm eating a lot. I'm very hungry. And that November of 2023, I ate a lot. And I probably put on like 10 pounds at least of pure fat in November. And then towards December, I swell and stuff, which I tend to have that happen due to the winter coming and hypothyroidism and all this stuff, which I try to talk about a lot because people need to understand that they may be swelling in the winter, and that may be why they feel like they're not losing and all that kind of stuff. So I try to talk about that. But again, that's also an education piece. It's also, this is what's happening. It's cyclical, so it's happened pretty much every year that I've been doing my activism. It's, you know what I'm saying? And you kind of just explain things as they come, and people accept it. But I didn't eat as much last time. Like, I think I stopped the deficit for 3 weeks. I stopped the deficit for about 3 weeks in December. And I did probably put on some weight, but I probably put on muscle as I kept going to the gym. I was 365 party girl. I even did like a whole picture about it on my Instagram and stuff where I was showing like 365, like you do the gym, you go the whole year. That was the first time I'd gone the whole year because I typically had to stop, but I wasn't super morbid anymore, so I could keep going. Even if it was tough, I could keep going, and I did. So I probably put on some muscle, you know, because I was active and extremely active in December, and I went to the gym and all that stuff. So it's like, but all that shows, you know, the swelling came off, and by March, I was pretty much back to where I was, especially by like even February, I think. Yeah, I think it was earlier this year. I think it was earlier. I can't remember all the details, but by around February, I was back to where I was. I became mid-size, and then I gained some weight in LA, and then now I'm a little bit more stagnant, I think, or maybe I haven't weighed myself in a minute. I'm gonna weigh myself Thursday, but I'm not worried as much about the scale now post obesity, because I'm doing more body comp stuff, but I'm doing the deficit. So, and I know I am, you know what I'm saying? I tell you guys I am, but I also do look different too. It shows. That's the thing about this. It's just being honest is what helps. People don't get mad when you're honest. But a lot of people, especially with this issue, they cannot be honest. They don't like it. Freaks them out. I think I'm just going to go ahead. We're going to go ahead and do the whole video. So this will just be a long one. But I'm just saying, just be real, Anna.
And for why I've made
And you do owe an explanation. That's what your channel is about. That was the whole point of what I was saying. Sorry, I went on a rant.
choices I've made for my health. And, you know, this year has been really awful in terms of the way people have spoken about me online, have, you know, critiqued what I've gone through, and to be going through.
I think it's kind of universal. I think it's just, it's rough times. People are very judgmental these days. I think it's something a lot of people are going through. A lot of people are nervous about like posting things online and stuff. Like, I get it. I do. I just do it anyway. Because I'm crazy. No, I'm just kidding. But no, I think that there's just, you know, there's a lot of negativity in general. It's a negative time. So that's not just you, Anna. That's everybody is going through some of that. But I've felt it a lot in my mid-size phase. But I do think there is, you know, I think a lot of people are feeling criticized a lot online and stuff lately. But, or maybe we're all just negative. I don't know. You know, I have felt better recently. So, but I'm just saying, I feel like that's a trend. That's all I'm trying to say. I think that's a bit of a trend.
Through something, oh, you just woke up. Something as traumatic, like surgery is traumatic. It is difficult. It is heavy emotionally. It is heavily physically. It's heavy socially. It's heavy financially. Like it hits you in a lot of different ways. And to have people jump in and add an additional layer of trauma, or try to add an additional layer of trauma, made me realize that people who feel comfortable doing that to someone are not people I should listen to or people I should invite into my life. And so,
well, you don't have to watch it. You don't have to watch anybody if you don't want to, but still, you have to know that that podcast you put out was going to bring something up. Come on.
honestly, this surgery has helped me create boundaries. It's a weird thing to say, but it's made me realize that I deserve to protect myself. Like that no matter what I do in my life, people are not going to like.
That's probably true. 1 second.
And they're not going to believe me, or they're not going to want to support me. Like that's...
Yes, but when it comes to this issue, and if you're talking about it, and you're talking about your weight, and you're talking about your health and all these things, it's people cannot believe you all they want, but it visually shows. So there have been people who have criticized the way that I've done things the entire way. There have been people that have criticized my mindsets the entire way, the way that I talk about certain issues, things that I advocate for or against. There have been people that have criticized the entire way, but there is a change. You can look at the channel and watch a video from 2 years ago. There's a visual change. Even if you can't believe it, it still has happened. But again, I'm an activist. So I talk about it activistically and I'm proving a point. So it's going to come across a little different and there will be a little bit more of an aggressive thing, but you have to allow people to criticize within it. You know, it's a part of it. But it's work. It's not fun all the time. That's part of it. So I'm like, if you're trying to do all this, I'm educating people, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, then you're gonna have criticism, you're gonna have questions, and people are not satisfied with the answers. And if everybody's having an issue, or the vast majority, then it does reflect on you. It just does. And you can make a change or you cannot. It's up to you, but it is what it is. You know, I wish I could speak more clearly about things, but I can't because of YouTube's rules. So I can't. I have to work with what I can. And I do the best I can within what I have. That's what you do as a creator. And as an activist, as somebody who's trying to educate on something or whatever it is that you're trying to do, you work with what you have. You could do this better, Anna. You have enough money, you have enough of a setup, you have enough stuff. You could do it. I'm just not, I don't know. And if you don't have the resilience to be able to handle questions or any of those things, then you need to work on that. Like I said, you had plenty of time to reflect, didn't you? I just don't even know. I'm going to have to watch some reactions to this because I want to see how people are taking it. But I can't imagine it's going over well.
Life. And when you are a creator that is like really freaking public, and you're going to get a lot more of those people because you're just have more eyes on you. I've had some pretty crazy changes in the last week and a half. It made me realize how much I was carrying and living with and putting up with and not acknowledging, simply because I didn't know that there was anything different than that. And so if anything, I'm walking out of this just so much more grateful.
For the record, I have to make this clear. When I have been upset about being mid-size or how I've been treated and these types of things, it is not just online. It is all across the board. So typically when I talk about treatment on my channel, I am not just talking about like online comments and stuff. It can be a part of it, sure, but it's one small piece. When I'm talking about like how I've been projected upon, it's been a lot in real life too. It's been a lot. It's not just online. It's not something I'm saying to be like, my haters, they're horrible. No, I'm talking about the issue at hand. Okay, which part of it can be online too, but that's only one piece. And I've told you guys many times, as far as the mid-size part, most of you guys have been great. It's a very small minority of people who are triggered by me being this size and who are weird about it, but it's very small. And then like in personal life and in my life and stuff, it's just a lot of projection. And I try to have grace. I try to have understanding as I have completely changed. I am very different externally than how I used to be at this time. And I do have to give grace to other people and try to put myself in other people's shoes often. And it's something that I suggest because I do think, yes, it can be a lot and we feel like this is our weight loss journey, blah, blah, blah. Why should I have to consider other people and all that stuff? But I just think you need to as a human being. You just need to. because it helps create more understanding and it helps you be less angry in this phase. See how that's an activistic point? That's how it's done, Anna. Anyways, let's finish it out.
Grateful to the person I went in who did a lot of really incredible hard things in a body that just did not cooperate. And so, you know, it's making me really think about how do I be part of the change in the way people see and understand this illness. So it's just changed. It's changed everything. Is that the simple answer? Is it's changed everything. And it is changing me in ways that I don't even know yet. When I think about what's next, obviously I'm back.
I don't know anything more about it, Anna. This is not educational at all. I just have to be real. The goal was not achieved. It was not accomplished whatsoever. I think people are watching this and they're like, huh? I don't think there was any clarity added. I don't know anything more about lipedema from watching this. Zero. That's a massive criticism. Massive. That you probably will not take.
I will be bringing back hauls because I have heard you loud and clear. You miss them. And you know what? I'm excited to do them now with my body changing. It's going to be fun to like just explore my new ride. I basically had the human version of Pimp My Ride. So I want to explore, you know, what works for my body now. And then that'll be fun to do with you guys through hauls. And I think there will be more than that. But I'm letting myself be open. The reason I'm back is because I love this community and because y'all have reached out and because you've been so kind to me and so supportive and so
She
encouraging.
should have just said that. That would have gone over better. Just being positive is good, especially if you're feeling positive. But she kind of ruined it by all that other stuff. That's like stupid.
Made me realize that I need to find ways to connect more with you. It's just the beginning of something really exciting and fun. And that's taking me back to where all of this started for me. It's been a lot. We've talked about a lot. And I feel like I needed to do this to just like catch y'all up on like where I was, what I did, etc., etc. So now you know. Now you know everything that's gone on, what I've been through, etc., etc. And now we get to start having some fun. So with that, I hope you find
Okay, I guess that was the goal.
joy in your life today. I hope you find a reason to smile, and I'll see you guys next time.
So I guess it was just an explanation for why I wasn't there, quote unquote, which it's like, you could have just done a haul and been like, I did a lot of surgeries and blah, blah, blah. And that could have been it. You know, it could have just been like a quick little interjection in the beginning. Like, if a lot of your followers just care about the hauls and stuff, then they don't care. If you're trying to educate and all that stuff, you didn't accomplish it. You should have been documenting it as it was happening. And she'd be like, well, that was my personal journey, blah, blah. I understand that. But then don't say that you're an educator or an activist or any of that. We don't get to have feelings as activists. No, I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding. But no, it's like, if you're doing that, which again, I chose to, and I do love it. You guys know I do. I do. It's tough. There was a time in March where I was like, ooh, I've had a couple rough moments with my activism. But I get through them because I love it. I absolutely love it. I could be cheesy and cry about how much I love it and how much I love doing this. But I don't get to just have my feelings as an activist. I have to organize them, you know, digest it, work it out, present. This is not a diary. You know what I'm saying? This channel is not a diary. You have to organize your thoughts. This is just a flop. I know you guys love it. I know you were waiting for me to criticize her like everyone else, but it is bad, Anna. This is a bad video. It was bad. I mean, I will give you that at least your personality was interesting enough to where I could watch the whole thing. That's good. As far as social media, that's good. But it was not educational. You didn't share anything. I don't think anybody really has any more of an understanding based on that video. I feel like basically nothing was said. So, anyways, I hope that I filled in some of the gaps for you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching, especially if you made it this far. I will talk to you guys again tomorrow. Have a good one. Peace.